Geocachomaniacs.
Geo Gearheads.
Welcome back to the Geo Gearheads. This is episode 521. I'm Daryl W4 back again with Chris of the Northwest.
Daryl, didn't we just have show 500? We're already 21 past that. How did that happen?
Yeah, you see, it's like every week we do another one of these things, and it just stacks up on the pile, and now we have 520 of them.
Okay. Well, if that's the way it works, next week we'll have 522.
We will.
Yeah.
We will, which is another show with a different topic. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But it's still not enough to listen to one a day for 2 years in a row.
Oh, well, you can get a good solid year in and then let us know what you think of the show after you've listened to it for 1 year.
Yeah. Make sure to go back, start at episode 1.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of the same principle of hiding a cache. You have to go find X number of caches before you're allowed to hide one. Okay, that's not really the rules, but it should be. Though it depends on where you are. So you have to listen to an entire year of Geo Gearheads before you're allowed to write in.
Now I'm wondering, and we need some of our research department experts to figure this out for us. If you were to start doing one a day from show 1 all the way through, only doing the full number shows, not the specials.
Okay.
Would you be able to catch up before we had enough for 2 years worth of shows? I think we're like right there at that threshold.
Well, now you got to get the minutes, the length of every show, and calculate it out.
Well, no. I'm saying one a day. So how we're well, no, because we're over 100 days, so I don't think that would work. No, maybe it would. See, I'd have to actually sit down and write it out, which I'm not going to do on the show because it would be a very, very boring show then.
Yeah, that is, and we've got a great guest tonight, so I think we should talk to them instead of figuring out if people can listen to the show for a year straight. Just
2
saying.
years. 2 years straight.
Okay.
Because math is hard. If there's anything we know, it's math is hard.
And if it doesn't get us to a geocache, what's the point?
Exactly.
Seriously.
So we're going to talk tonight about trip caches or road caching 22. And we brought in one of our favorite guests to talk about it, which is jtcoffee. Welcome back.
Hi, thanks.
Who just came back from yet another epic trip.
Yes. Oh, I was so lucky to get to use this long weekend to go bake off some of the coldness of the Pacific Northwest and go down to the desert Southwest. We did the national parks in New Mexico and one in Texas too.
Oh, wow. So you didn't run into any snow? You got away from that?
We did run into snow, if you can believe it. We went a little north in New Mexico. We were going north of Alamogordo up over to Roswell, because of course you have to go to Roswell when you go to New Mexico. And there was
the aliens did.
I know. So, I mean,
it's
decided. And there was some areas because we were up in the mountains, kind of in the ski area, and there was snow there. We were astounded.
Yeah.
I was more astounded.
I don't remember if it's Arizona or New Mexico, but one of those states right near the border there has the second highest city next to Denver.
Oh, wow.
And you wouldn't know it. You would think, oh, it's desert, it's flat. That's not true.
Well, the highest point in Texas is right over the border there, just as you pass into Texas from New Mexico.
There you go. Yeah. The mountains down in the Southwest are deceiving.
Yeah. Indeed.
By the way, I did the math for the research myself.
Oh,
I am so far off. we have enough that you could listen to it more than twice before we hit that 2-year mark.
Oh wow, okay.
So yeah, we're way off. I was also like,
So
doing
you're
the
saying
math
we're
wrong in my head.
more than 500. We're like 700 days away from the 2-year mark, because
Well,
we only
we're-
do one show a week, but you could listen to a show
Right.
a day.
Right.
Mhm.
We have 209 weeks of shows that we still have to do. That's how I got it
Wow,
all messed
okay.
up, is I was thinking we were like right around that 100 mark,
Okay.
which obviously is not right if you think about it. But, you know, it's 9:30. I'm ready to go to sleep. Yeah, my brain already has.
Oh well.
Obviously.
Apparently not the math part.
Right. No, that's
No,
still
the math part went to sleep, but I had to wake up again. Oy.
Okay.
Don't let me do math this late at night.
No more math from this point forward. We're done. We're good.
Okay.
That's what our astute listeners are for.
Yes,
Well-
but according to GSM Times 2, we're missing Limax, who's our math expert. So
Oh,
I had to
Yes.
do it myself this time.
And Limac could tell you what factor that number has. So
oh,
hey, let's talk about road caching,
let's
as
do that.
Houston, Texas Dave says. Road caching. You don't need a G. It's just, you're already dropping off the geo on the front, so you take all the G's out of it. Cache it.
Yeah.
Mhm. Now, JT Coffee, one thing I know about you is you love to plan.
I do.
So I would assume you actually don't go road caching on a whim, but you've actually planned out your route and you've written it all in a little book.
I've got lots of lists that I work off of. First of all, you're absolutely right, because I started that way. When we would go on road trips, I would just kind of be as opportunistic as I could. And then I ended up kind of ending my trip feeling dissatisfied. Like, man, we would buy all these great things that I'm sure it would have been no trouble to get. Because when I travel, I often travel with my husband, who's not a cacher. And those who cache with non-cachers on the regular know that you have to kind of temper their expectations and just keep their patience level in mind in order to optimize your own experience.
Oh, how true.
Yeah. So you have to do things like prioritize and explain why, like, I'm picking this one. And the reason is because I can't find it in Washington, or there's something special about that you can only do it here. So that's one of the things that I do when I plan is if I'm traveling with a muggle and I am, we're going to a destination that's going to include lots of stuff for the both of us. I start to then look at the route that would have things for me and things for him. And then I start to go through some of the priorities that I want to hit and see if I can equally space those along the pathway.
Yes, because if you find all the caches, you'll never get to the spots that your muggle spouse wants to see.
Right. I was trying to explain power caching to him because we were in the place. Well, the desert is a common place, but we're also right near the brand new snake that just published, the big geo art outside of El Paso. And so I was trying to describe, okay, so there's caches that aren't where the pin is, and then people draw things. And he's like, well, why? I'm like, because it's fun.
Art. Why do people do art? You can't explain it.
Come on. But so we were describing some of those things. I said, the desert, I said, we could be along that road. Do you see that road right there? And there's a cache every, 10th of a mile. And we could just chug ourselves along. But I also sometimes like to point that out to also temper expectations of like, that is a choice that we're not making. We're doing this other thing and I'm picking this one or something like that, or picking out earth caches or some other feature that has something for him too. Oh yeah. Houston, Texas Dave says 1350 caches. I found one of them.
Woo!
One
You're on a roll.
Yeah, I know. I'm that.
So how many years of road trips do you have to go back and do before you'll have all 1350?
No, we said no, Matt.
Barrel? Oh,
Well, we're missing one of the variables in that, which is how frequently are the road trips happening?
oh,
Such a good, and not often enough. Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
No.
Whew. Yeah.
Is it a road trip every weekend, every other weekend, once a month?
Well, and then how do you define road trips, right? I mean, you could, is just traveling to the next town? Is that a road trip? Is it most of the day? Do you have to fly to get there? Or, oh man. But yeah, when I start to create my list, I think about things I can't get here. I think
Mhm.
about challenges that I'm working on that I know I'm going to have to travel for, like say another fizzy lap or the big call challenge or accumulating counties or something like that. And then I start to think through that way. I also start to think earth caches are so fun. Virtuals are great. And those are things that muggles tend to have more patience for because they don't necessarily know that you're doing them when you're doing them
Let's
at the
go
time.
take a look at this.
Yeah. How
So-
old do you think that, or how tall do you think that hill is over there?
I think, and when was this plaque put in?
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Does anybody see any plaques? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, look at that over there. Yeah. So it's great, and it's and those are always added to my list because, and now of course adventure labs are added to my list too because it's the same sort of thing that we can go along, learn about something cool, and I'm quietly adding it into my phone, just inputting the answer, and it helps keep the patience tempered.
Yes. Yes, I've learned that with my wife. She's, I've been going out and getting the points needed for this particular
Peak.
what's the word? Campaign.
Promotion.
Promotion.
Yeah.
Promotion.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. This promotion. And she realized, oh, you've got to get so many points. Well, can you do it in 2 weekends a month? Yes. Well, let's go out. Oh, okay. She
Great.
goes, there are a few requirements. We have to stop and do certain things, but I get to cash and she gets to, go out and have fun. And so adventure labs are fantastic for that. Earth caches are fun for that. We stopped and got a coffee, and right across the street was a puzzle cache that I've tried before, and it was rainy and I didn't spend the time I needed to work on it. Well, as it's changed, everything you need now is on the webpage. So we sat in a nice coffee shop, and I opened up my phone and I sent her a text with all the things we needed. And between the two of us, we worked it out, walked across the street and got the cash. So
Piece of cake.
Yeah.
And you probably got the cake too, because you were in a coffee shop.
There you go.
Win-win.
GSM times 2 wants someone to create a Geo spouse exchange app. All benefits are smileys only.
I don't want to do that.
I was going to say that's actually, now that I read that, doesn't sound quite the way that I think it was intended.
No, it's like isn't there a TV show called Wife Swap or something?
Yeah, I was
ends
going to
well.
say, I think we have a bad reality show in the making.
Yes. Yeah.
They do need a
Okay.
support group, though, of spouses of cashers, so that they can look at us and be like, "Oh boy, what?"
There has-
Like, ugh.
There has to be a Facebook group. Okay, JT Coffee, you mentioned one of it was actually the very first thing on your list of types of caches I can't get around here.
Yeah.
Expand on that a little bit. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, that just, when I cache around my area a lot. And so maybe I'm working on my next fizzy lap and I'm only looking in my state for the combination that I need. And I'm out. Like maybe or I'm working on maybe my puzzle fizzy. For example, I'm working on my puzzle fizzy, and in the state of Washington, there's a combination that isn't available. So I will have to travel in order to get that one. I have no trouble. I can travel to get it, but then that just pings my memory of like, oh, I should look for that particular combination, see if I can solve a puzzle. And then I fill that square and I'm already going to be in that place. Or the big call challenge, which is when you're looking for certain numbers of charter member cache owners. And I've found the ones that are close by. And so it's always good to travel and see if you can find some more when you go to a new place. Those are often, I have different flavors of lists when I build lists for travel. I have my, like, I am not leaving until I find this. Top priority has to happen. I will camp on the side of the road until I find it type of level of importance. And then I have my like high hopes, like that, my second tier. It would be super great to get these, but I'll walk away if I can't find it, or if we run out of time, it's just it's the next to fall off the list. Then I've got my third level of just gravy. Like this one is across the street from the hotel we're staying at. There's no reason not to get it, but I don't need to change my schedule in order to get it.
Right.
So it's, and that helps too. It helps if we have time for one more, or my husband says, let's just get one cache, then we'll get lunch, then we'll go to the airport. I know exactly which one it is because I don't need to filter through the map. I don't need to, okay, well, what are we near? Okay, there's one cache that I wanted to get. That's the one we're going to.
Nice. And it takes all of that time away from doing that work in the trip and moves it, out ahead. So you don't waste that time doing the trip.
Exactly. And I can save those lists offline because so often when we travel, we go to a national park or a really interesting wild place. And so often you don't have cell service, or sometimes you're just in a city and you don't have cell service randomly. And I didn't know that because I've never been there before. And so having the list prepared and then saving it offline to make sure that you always have access to it is a good tip.
Yeah, or the carrier has an outage, or.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, this is a T-Mobile city, and I'm on AT&T. Oops.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's plenty of those reasons why stuff just doesn't work. Who knows? You could have a server outage or something like that too.
Yeah, you just never know.
So having everything cached is so much better.
I see what you did there, but
yeah. Okay. And then Houston, Texas, Dave says the trifecta caches, oldest in each state, most favorited in state.
Those are great options. Ones that you can't get in your home state because by definition, they're in another one.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of the Jasmer challenges that are, you have to go out of state because there's just not that many of those early caches.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we are blessed in the Northwest to have the majority of those. There's still one we have to go to Utah for. Potter's Pond is what I'm thinking of. But
it's not all that far.
No.
Well, from Seattle area, that seems like it's a rather long trip.
It's a good day's drive.
Yeah,
you can do it in a day.
You can. I was planning for a milestone recently, and I was thinking like, I could do that. I was calculating the road, and I was like, that's interesting. I could make it in a day. It'd be a long day, but I could make it. And I didn't really think about it that way.
The problem is we're geocachers. That's probably going to be a couple of days. Yeah. There's always hey, I have to stop for this cache. I have to stop for this cache.
Yeah.
It's painful to drive by those good ones. Yeah.
Which is also a good reason to do the lists, so you're not suffering from the one more-itis. Oh, look.
Yeah. Shiny object syndrome, right? Like if you only look at the map of your list, then you're not like, ooh, I missed that one. And it's, of course, you do miss stuff that way, but it's a good reason to go back.
Yeah, but it helps to keep you on schedule. So you don't have to extend that trip an extra day or two.
Exactly. And there are other websites that you can use to help you. Speaking of schedule, if you're building these lists, you can use something like Cache Tour, which will calculate how long it will take you to do things. And so if you really have a time crunch, or you're traveling for business and you only have a very certain amount of time, but you have those marquee caches that you really want to get, you can calculate how long it will take you to get there and get back and make sure that you have time to do everything. Or if you calculate your time ahead of time, you're like, whoa, my list is too long. What do I have to take off? You do that thoughtfully ahead of time rather than panicking. Oh, I can't get the one that I wanted because I ran out of time.
Or you can use it as a justification to your muggle spouse. Hey, look, it's only going to be 7 hours.
That is as long as I need. That's it.
Just this weekend, my family and I were planning our summer vacation, and we're going down to California. And my wife says, well, what about on the way there or the way back, we go through Nevada and Utah? Oh,
Great idea.
So you could do some more caching. Oh, wow. Okay.
I love those moments. I got one of those. It was we were traveling for my birthday. So it was the first day we were traveling late at night, and my husband kind of wanted to sleep in. He's like, why don't you go see how many caches you can find before 9 a.m. and then we'll head out. I was like,
bye.
Challenge accepted.
Nice. But yeah, Cache Torno does do some of those different classes of caches too, so that you can put to that nice schedule and say, hey, if we're behind schedule and this is a class 2, we're just going to skip it.
Exactly. Those priorities are so nice. And it really does help too. Maybe you're working on a challenge that's like a star related, or you need to get a certain cumulative whatever it is, and you've cashed out your area, so that's really hard to qualify for, but you can plan it that way via Cache Tour.
Yes, that's true. I do love Cache Tour. I mean, we've used it just for, two friends meeting up and, here's what we're going to hit today. Oh, look at, so the driver's driving and I'm checking off yep, we did that one. Yep, we did that one. Hey, we're
Arrived.
7 minutes ahead of schedule.
Yes. I love that. Oh my goodness. Arrived, departed.
Yep.
Oh, you're 19 minutes ahead of schedule. Oh, I could fit in one more.
All right. So what are some of the other planning things that you do along the way?
Is when I plan for it, when I'm planning for that, if I'm planning for a just visiting an area, it's a little different than if I'm going to a certain destination target cache and then planning my way out there. If I'm going to a city and I've never been there before, and I build all my lists and I've saved them offline, once I'm there and caching, I like to save my logs as drafts on my phone. And that way I can, through the app, because that way I can keep track better of what I've found and how many I've found, in case that matters, in case I'm trying to get X number per day. It helps me keep track. And that way I don't have to, I can see where I am on my list, and I can see if I'm mapping my list, it'll show me the ones that I have drafted so that I can see, okay, got those. Oh, I almost skipped that one, or something like that. It helps me just make sure I don't lose my place, or I don't, if I turn off my list only view and I start to see the whole map and I get distracted, it helps me focus back to make sure that I get back to my list and make sure I get those things that I need, all with those drafts. And then when I travel, I like to make sure my logs are good, because often I'm finding really special caches, or I'm trying to log my whole trip. I try to do a little trip log in addition to the cache log. And so I want to put some time and thought. Plus, I take 1.5 zillion pictures. And so I want to make sure all of those get on there. And I do that when I log on the web when I get home. And so keeping them drafted helps me do that and make sure I don't forget one, because sometimes, of course, you go off list, you add a quick one because you stop for gas. Oh my gosh, there's a cache over there. I'm definitely going to get it. It's not on any list because I didn't plan, but it's just the opportunistic moment. But if you keep it as a draft, then you can make sure that you remember to log it. That's one of my biggest fears, of finding caches and then forgetting that and then never actually logging it. Oh.
Well, another advantage to the drafts and log when you get home that we talked about like 8 years ago is that doesn't tip people off who might be watching your geocaching account that you're not home.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So for the geo stalkers, I guess, it would be, yeah, and it's also an excellent way to sandbag Land Monkey.
He does something similar himself, since he tends to be a GPS cacher. So, he'll come back and after a weekend, bam, he came up with 10,000 points or something. Like, how did he do that on a Monday?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Right.
we do have a couple of questions from the chat.
Oh, yeah.
First one by GSM times 2 says, as a lackey, does JT Coffee use the official app or another one?
I use the official app. The
There you
official
go.
HQ app. Yeah.
Just finding our way says, sounds like logging through Cache Tour might be a good fit for you.
I have tried doing that. I stumble on some of the logistics of it. I tried to do it once at a trip and I got all flustered and confused. And so I thought, change is hard. Yes, I definitely need to learn how to do that a little bit better.
All right. What about any tools or, things that you bring along with you on a regular basis for these?
Sometimes when you're traveling, you're caching for the numbers because you're going to a power trail or you are being
highway,
right? Or this new snake, or
snake, right?
Or any geo art or a challenge trail with just new territory that you haven't been in, and often when you're traveling, you have limited time. Even if you're on vacation, you still have limited daylight hours. You're only there for 4 days, whatever it is. And so you want to optimize your time. The lists help with that. But then if you have a to-go pack of tools, that really helps. I always have in every pocket of every jacket, so it doesn't matter which one I bring with me. I've got pens, at least 3. And I've seen on GPS lanyards attached tools. There's pens, there is the bungee tweezer option, there's bungee pen option, bungee stamp option, there's all kinds of things, and those things help you move faster so that you can optimize the time that you have, and that, which is good for power caching, but also just good if you're trying to if you're caching with a bunch of people and they don't want to stand around, they're like, come on. It helps so that you're not searching for a pen or wait, where is my whatever. You have all of that right there. You can find it. It kind of puts confidence in the bank if you're traveling with your family who is like, oh, not again. Like if they know it'll be fast, then you can often bank yourself some more down the line.
Do you have any special kits that you might bring along for something like a Earth Cache kit, maybe, or something like that?
I do have an Earth Cache notebook that has one of those old stickers from HQ that says Hardcore Earth Cacher on the outside. That always comes with me. My phone with my camera always comes with me. My DSLR comes with us too, in case it needs to be something that's a really good picture. It's the cameras on phones these days are so good, and so it's the DSLR honestly is sometimes what keeps my husband busy. Go take some great pictures, and I'll just be over here. But it's always good to think about that and think about the muggles that you have along with you. But it's plenty of pens, because you never want to be out of pens, and you don't want to be that traveler who shows up into town and is like, oh, I didn't have a pen. and you write that in your log. You want to be prepared, and you want to have your stamp or your pen with you. And then tweezers are good because you also just never know the state of things. Are you going to a really wet place? Are your logs always going to be wet? I traveled several years ago to Kentucky, and in that area, a lot of the logs were surveyor's tape. It was like a plasticized paper type stuff to prevent it from getting icky, sticky, moldy, whatever. But if I had only had a pencil with me, that wouldn't have worked so well. I mean, it does write, but it's, you have to kind of work a little more diligently.
Etch it in there.
Yeah, little ballpoint pen or a Sharpie, those work better. And so I'd like to have those options around with me, because you just don't know what the typical hide or typical regional trends are if you're going to someplace new.
Interesting. Yeah. And you don't want to use a Sharpie on a Nano, because you can fill up the entire log just trying to, get that in there. I just signed with a dot because that's all the space I could use.
Right.
Pizza Ninja wants to know what the best road snacks to bring are.
Crackers, grapes, carrot sticks, fruit snacks.
Wow, you have them ready to go. Do you have that on a notebook page?
It's my shopping list. Yeah. It's we got actually Arizona iced tea fruit snacks this particular trip. They're delicious. But those are good for like if you need a little sweet, but they won't melt in the car like chocolate will.
Good point.
And with things like carrots and grapes, you're still getting some healthy foods, but they're really quick grabbable. You don't have to peel them or core them or wash them, really. I mean, you should, but it's they're just so easy to grab and go. Same with crackers. And you can always add cheese or meat to that, but it's just easy just to have crackers sometimes.
Some of the, what do they call them? Protein packs have, a good little selection, and you can find them anywhere. I used to say, well, you could always get snacks when you have to, get new batteries for your GPS, but that's not a thing anymore.
Maybe when you're stopped because you have a flat tire or something like that,
there
you can go pick up one of those protein packs. I love those too. A little cheese, a little like peanut butter or almonds or eggs, and then some fruit. It's a great thing. Hard-boiled eggs are good
hard-boiled eggs
companions too.
It's better if you keep them cold, but they can last a day.
Yeah, they can.
No problem. Yeah. And you can often get those at hotel breakfast bars.
Yes. So. Yeah. Whereas things like yogurt, or like those little cereal cups, they don't travel well.
No. Yeah. Houston, Texas Dave says his Geo snack must carry list is granola bars, Lunchables, and water bottles.
Oh, yes. Water. How could I forget? Of course, you definitely need water. And
I like the water. I don't like eating the bottles, though.
Right. Try to avoid that.
Well, that's high fiber. It's going to fill you up all day. Sorry.
No, you're not. That's the worst part.
You're not wrong.
I like to also try to bring some swag with me too. It's not really so much of a tool or a snack or something. It's just kind of a nice to have. But if and trackables, of course. I mean, whenever I travel, I do like to intentionally grab some trackables. If I go to an event and there's always the end of the event, hey, does anybody want these? And if I'm going on a trip, sure, I'll grab those. I mean, I'm pretty easy to convince to grab a trackable anyway. But if I'm going on a trip, I do like to grab them because then they get some nice mileage added. And it is nice to either bring something from Seattle, or as a lackey, I'll bring lackey tags or other sort of fun stuff that people might find. I left lackey tags in the last. I recently found Ohio's oldest, or since Ohio has contested oldest. I found one of them, not both of them yet, but I left some lackey tags in there since that's a really special cache to find, and I like doing that too.
Nice. I don't do swag anymore. The kids, it was a huge thing. as long as we were finding, regulars or larges, they were up for it all day long. Oh, that's a small or a nano, I'm not interested. So, we had to have swag in the car with us all the time. But, now it's just like, I don't actually have much swag left anymore. And it's not something I even think about.
Yeah, I used to carry it in the go bag all the time, but got rid of the go bag entirely too, because you just don't run into much up here except for micros.
And so if you don't have a go bag, what do you carry your stuff in now?
My pockets for the most part.
Okay.
Yeah, and mind you, I do have a Scotty vest for this time of year.
Oh, yes.
So the pockets might be plentiful. But I do have like the camera bag that will carry some of the supplies on a regular basis.
I always have a sling bag purse, and there's a number of compartments that it has, and those are always swag and pens and trackables.
Yeah, I'd like to do more swag. It's just there's not enough caches around here. So again, another good reason to go road caching. So you're not going to find those on the ET highway. Probably not with a snake either.
Well, I only have experience with one, and that was a bison. So no, but I can't speak for the rest. But I was this last trip starting to worry a bit. I did grab a bunch of trackables, and then because we were finding so many virtuals and earth caches and venture labs, I hadn't found any regulars yet to leave them, and the smalls were just, it was the perfect size for a log, and the trackables I had were larger. So I'm like, gotta find something good. And I did. Outside of Carlsbad, there's a train, and the cache is in the train. You have to get into the engine, and you open all these doors, and there's an old container inside, and I'm crawling through, and it was really cool. It was the perfect place to leave a bunch of trackables.
How fun.
Nice.
GSM times 2 says that he has so little swag that he has difficulty finding some for his new geocache that he's working on. And Houston, Texas Dave says he left his Geo Gearheads trackable out last year, and it got 265 miles. iGood Cacher has been keeping it moving, which is nice to see.
Nice.
Those tend to, any of those tags or whatnot tend to disappear pretty quickly.
They can, yeah. But it is nice to see. I always get so envious of my trackables that travel further and faster and just more than I do.
Well, for a long time, all of my trackables went to Germany and never left. And then
the German black hole of trackables.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, as soon as they went to Germany, they would stay there. A lot of them would move around Germany forever, but they never left Germany. Once they got to Germany, they stayed in Germany.
I've had one in Denmark for a long time, and it's happily traveling. It's going to events and being discovered by people. Like, it's having a ball, but it's been there a long time.
Yeah, it's like, I want to move to someplace else so I can, see some different caches and cachers.
Yeah. Trackables are a funny thing these days, aren't they? The proxies, I think, are a wonderful idea. But I know, Daryl, you made some small trackables at one point that fit inside of a 35 millimeter film container very well.
Yeah. I actually had the 35 millimeter film can, or, the canister, the film to go into the 35 millimeter film cans. And that was a little mini coin. It was pre-tags, really, but it was a full-size coin.
That's cool.
I probably have them over here. Hang on.
I'm loving that these days a lot of geocaching shops, HQ shop, but other ones are you get a cool coin, and then you get a proxy tag. Oh no, along with it. This stuff is falling over there.
Hold on while Daryl reorganizes his place. You redecorate.
No, I'm looking for something particular.
But you get a proxy with the same code, so you get to keep the big fancy coin, and then you can see the proxy travel along, and it's not just a piece of paper with handwritten with the code written on it or something.
Right. I was looking to see.
Oh,
Oh, there you go.
That's adorable.
So very, very tiny,
Yeah.
but they are full geocoins, enamel both sides and everything.
Wow.
But that was still one of my favorite ones that I designed.
That
Cool.
you gave me one and I sent it out into the world and it went up to Alaska, over to Hawaii, back to California, and then disappeared.
Ah.
I was like,
Well,
it had all those good miles on it. And now it's gone.
Well, and what I used to do with those and with these, which was my caching partner at the time, which is even smaller, but this one actually has a little hole so that you could put a
chain
cable through it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, earrings, lovely. No.
Could be.
Early trackable earrings. But the every cache we visited, we'd drop a activated geocoin in and name it for the cache and see where it went. So, you know, there's...
Oh, interesting. Name it for the cache. That's a nice way to keep track of where you dropped it.
It made it very easy. But there's literally thousands of those out there. You know, and we did that with the full-size coins too, and we could do the full-size coins.
That's cool.
And if we couldn't do any coin in that cache, we'd name it for that cache, take it to the next cache, and drop it in the next cache. So that cache would get 2.
That's cool.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Very expensive, but a lot of fun.
Yeah. A great way to use some or incorporate some fun swag.
And Houston, Texas. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Dave says a friend of mine made earrings out of path tags. So there you go.
That's cool. I've
And I
considered doing
did
the
get
same
the
thing.
wife the little marble. I think they're Earth. I think she has some other ones that I did like that too for her.
That's cool. Oh, you can do the Earth one and the Mars one. That's cool.
Ooh.
That's a good idea. I have to write that down.
Well, that's one of those.
So if you have Earth on one
mega
side,
event,
I was going to say, if you have Earth on one side and Mars on the other, doesn't that mean there's space in the middle? Sorry, I had to say it. Okay.
It's out of this world, Chris. That's just
Sorry, it was bad.
all right. I think that's our cue that we need to wrap this up for the safety of our listeners and viewers.
Oh, I'm sorry. I ruined a good thing again.
Before we do take off, though, is there any parting advice or thoughts that you want to share about planning or going on a caching road trip?
You know, sometimes I just plan trips to have ready to go. I know, like, traveling can be really hard these days, and depending on where you are or the resources that you have or where you want to go, and asking yourself, is it a good idea to travel, and how should I travel? Should I go to there's a lot of that sort of stuff. Sometimes the antidote for me is just planning. Is just, if I ever wanted to go to this state or find this oldest cache or go to this national park, what else would I find when I go there? And I build those. That's another feature of Cache Tour, actually, is that you can, of course, you can build geocaching lists, but then you can plan trips that don't have a date associated in Cache Tour, and it can just sit there and wait and maybe inspire you for a future time. So if you're feeling stuck, or maybe you're healing from an injury and just have to sit on the couch for a while, I've certainly been there. And when you're seeing all your friends having a wonderful time and finding all sorts of stuff, and you're like, harumph, I'm here, you can plan for the future. And sometimes that really helps. And even if you plan little short trips just in your own state or over to the next town because you've been meaning to get there, and you put a trip together, maybe that's the barrier that you needed to take down. You look at it and like, I'm going to do that this weekend because I built the whole trip already. I'm all set to go. So always plan those trips. And because you never know when you can have the opportunity to go.
I love it. Yeah,
Nice.
I've done many of those trip plannings for those dream trips that you want to go on, but I haven't really thought about just planning random trips to say, you know, hey, I've got a day close to home. Here's my trip ready to go.
Yeah.
I like that idea. Well, thank you
I'm gonna
very
have to
much.
start doing that.
Oh, Houston, Texas Day says a Geo Woodstock trip. Yeah, I
There you
always
go.
do those months in advance and then have to redo them, weeks before.
Yeah, but it's not as much work because you've already got, the basis of it set. So
Right.
you may add or remove a cache or two.
Right. You're like, gotta go to the mega, gotta go to the side event, gonna go to the other side event, gonna get all of those adventure labs, and I definitely need the oldest one over here, and I'm gonna need this over here, and then there's a new event, I'll throw that on there, that kind of stuff.
JT Coffee, you said mega. It's a giga now.
Giga. Oh my gosh, you're absolutely right. It is.
Yes,
That's
but there
right.
will be more megas. It doesn't
Yes.
have to be that one specifically.
That's true.
No, that's true.
How could I forget? Deary me.
Oh, let's see. Just Finding Our Way says the Geo Woodstock trip is now 29 days in version 3. So there you go.
And
Just
that's
had
the
to throw that
benefit
in.
of starting early. You can
Mhm.
just iterate and just build the dream trip.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And folks, make sure you check out the Cacheamaniacs website at cacheamaniacs.com for more on the Geo Gearheads, including show notes from this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads at cacheamaniacs.com or through the many channels of social media. Your support helps keep the Cacheamaniac shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cacheamaniac shows. Geo Gearheads is produced by Chris Umfenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. The show's copyright 2022 by Daryl Wattenberg, all rights reserved.